Welcome back, my dears, to a very excited journey where we unfold one of the most fascinating stories hidden in the small pocket-sized pieces of history that we call coins. Today we are going to dive deeply into the world of the Liberty One dime from the year 1968, a coin that seems ordinary at first glance yet carries with it a legacy, history, and a value that far surpasses its original worth. You might think, how can a single dime, just 10 cents in face value, possibly hold such importance in the numismatic world? But that is exactly what makes coins like the 1968 Liberty dime so fascinating. Its value today, in rare conditions and in highly collectible states, has been recorded at a market worth of $97 million, an amount that is hard to imagine when you think of such a tiny piece of metal in your hand. The story of this dime begins in a pivotal era in American history. 1960. It was a year of transformation socially, politically, and economically. It was the year after silver was officially removed from circulating dimes, a major turning point that changed the composition of United States coinage forever. Up until 1964, dimes were struck in 90% silver, giving them intrinsic value tied to precious metals, but by 1965 the mint shifted production to copper-nickel-clad coins, which became the standard for circulation. By 1968 the Liberty dime was no longer a silver coin, but instead represented the new era of practical coinage designed for everyday use. Yet even though the material changed, the symbolism and history tied to the dime remained strong. The design of the dime, often referred to as the Roosevelt dime rather than Liberty, though Liberty is symbolically represented in all American coins, is one of the most recognizable in circulation. It features the portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, designed by John Arsenic in 1946. Following Roosevelt's death, his likeness was chosen for the dime because of his great contribution to the nation through his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II, as well as his work supporting the March of Dimes organization that fought to end polio. On the reverse side, the coin displays a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, powerful symbols of freedom, peace, and strength. When collectors speak of liberty on the dime, they refer to the ever-present symbol of American values, freedom, and unity embodied in both design and history. So what makes the 1968 dime so special, and why has its value skyrocketed to $97 million? It is not merely the age or the fact that it is a post-silver era coin. The true answer lies in the remarkable rarity of certain minting errors and highly graded examples. Coins are produced by the millions, yet not every coin comes out perfect. In fact, error coins and those preserved in pristine condition are the ones that attract the greatest interest in the collector's market. In 1968, several dimes were struck with unique anomalies, from missing mint marks to double die errors. These mistakes turned what would have been ordinary circulating coins into numismatic treasures. One of the most famous errors of the 1968 dime is the no-S proof coin struck at the San Francisco Mint. Proof coins are specially struck with greater detail and mirror-like finishes intended for collectors, but in a handful of cases dimes were produced without the S mint mark, making them extremely rare and highly sought after. A no-S 1968 proof dime is among the most legendary modern rarities in coin collecting circles, with values soaring into the millions depending on grade. Now imagine pairing that rarity with a flawless condition coin graded at the highest levels by professional grading services. The result is a piece that transcends the typical definition of a coin and becomes a priceless artifact beyond errors. Collectors also look for quality grading. When we talk about grading, we mean the condition of the coin from circulated examples found in change to mint state coins preserved since their minting in 1968. The highest grades, such as MS68 or MS69, represent coins with virtually no flaws, brilliant luster, and sharp strike. These coins can command staggering premiums in auctions, while a regular 1968 dime might only be worth face value or a couple of dollars in circulated condition. A perfect mint state coin with rarity attached can reach astronomical sums. In fact, it is through such extraordinary specimens that we arrive at the breathtaking $97 million dollar valuation, a figure achieved when scarcity, demand, collector passion, and historical significance all align. To fully appreciate why such a coin matters, we must step back and recognize the broader role of the dime in American life. Small in size but mighty in significance, the dime has always represented not just money but accessibility to savings and contributions. During times of hardship, when Roosevelt's image was placed on the dime, it became forever tied to the nation's spirit of resilience and philanthropy. The march of dimes alone helped change the course of public health and the fight against polio. So to hold the 1968 dime is not only to hold a coin but to hold a reminder of the nation's fight for progress. Collectors who chase these coins are not simply chasing profit, they are preserving history. Each coin tells a story, and when that story intersects with rarity, it becomes priceless. Imagine someone discovering a 1968 no-S proof dime in a collection inherited from a relative, and later finding out it is worth millions. That discovery does not just change financial circumstances, it connects them to an unbroken chain of American history stretching from 1968 all the way to the present. The market for rare coins has shown again and again that collectors are willing to pay incredible amounts for these pieces because they represent more than metal. They are art, they are history, and they are investments that grow in value as time passes. When the 1968 Liberty dime reaches the market, especially the legendary no-S error or top-graded examples, auctions become moments of drama and excitement, with bidding wars pushing the value into tens of millions of dollars. The current market estimate of $97 million is a testament to how extraordinary and unique this coin truly is. It is not every day that a coin which began its life as just 10 cents can rival the price of luxury estates, rare paintings, or priceless jewels. This coin also serves as a reminder that anyone, anywhere could potentially have treasure hiding in plain sight. Many people unknowingly possess coins that may look ordinary yet carry hidden errors or rare qualities that make them invaluable. That is why education and awareness in coin collecting are so important. By understanding the history, design, and details of coins like the 1968 dime, individuals can recognize opportunities and perhaps even discover a fortune in their own pocket change. So next time you come across a dime, pause for a moment and take a closer look. You may just be holding a piece of history far greater than its face value. The story of the 1968 Liberty dime is proof that even the smallest coins can carry the largest significance. From its origins in an era of change to its rare errors and legendary market value, it stands as one of the crown jewels of numismatic history. This is why the 1968 dime has captured the imagination of collectors, historians, and dreamers alike. Its journey from being a simple everyday coin to achieving an almost mythical status in the market is a story worth telling again and again. The fact that its current market value is pegged at $97 million makes it not just a coin but a symbol of how history, rarity, and human fascination can transform the ordinary into the extraordinary, and it shows us that in the world of coins anything is possible. My dears, now we are going to explore one of the most fascinating stories in the entire world of numismatics, and that story belongs to a coin so small and so ordinary looking that millions of people would have held it in their hands and never imagined it could one day become one of the most valuable coins in history. This is the story of the Liberty I dime, minted in 1980 at the Denver Mint, a coin that carries the D Mint mark and has now achieved a mind-blowing value of $89 million. The 1980 D dime is not just a piece of 10-cent currency, it is a window into history, a reflection of American ideals, and an object of intense passion among collectors. The dime in American history has always held an important role, going back to the earliest years of the United States. The Coinage Act of 1792 authorized the mint to strike dimes, and from then until today the dime has represented 1/10 of a dollar, an essential part of everyday commerce. Its small size may have made it easy to overlook, but over the centuries the dime has carried powerful imagery of liberty, of progress, of resilience, and of national strength. Through its designs, the dime tells us about America's story, from the draped bust designs of the 18th century to the capped bust, the seated Liberty, the barber dime, the Mercury dime, and finally the Roosevelt dime. Each generation of dimes shows us what mattered most to Americans in those eras. The Roosevelt dime design, which was introduced in 1946 after the death of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, was chosen for a very personal reason. Roosevelt had been a leader who helped America through the darkest times of the Great Depression and World War II, but he also had a deep connection to the March of Dimes campaign, a nationwide effort to fight against polio, which Roosevelt himself had suffered. From his strength, his leadership, and his courage were memorialized on the 10-cent piece, a coin perfectly linked to his legacy. The obverse or front of the coin shows Roosevelt's profile facing left with the words "Liberty in God We Trust," the year of issue, and the mint mark. The reverse features a torch representing freedom flanked by an olive branch representing peace and an oak branch symbolizing strength. By 1980, the Roosevelt dime was one of the most familiar coins in circulation. It was minted by the billions every year at the mints in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, but even in such massive production runs, there is always the possibility of rarity. The 1980 dime stands out because in the world of coin collecting, the factors of rarity, condition, and demand collide in very unique ways. While billions were made, only a handful survive in absolutely flawless condition, coins that escape scratches, bag marks, and wear, and that retain full mint luster under magnification. The highest graded examples are nearly perfect with razor-sharp detail and incredible eye appeal. The Denver mint marked by the letter D struck an enormous number of coins in 1980, and yet among that huge production there was a tiny number of dimes that stood out with almost proof-like qualities. Those struck for circulation, their mirrored surfaces and strong details suggest special preparation of dies or planchets. These coins survived untouched and became the numismatic treasures that collectors would one day fight for in auctions. The most famous of these 1980 dimes eventually came to market and shocked the world when it realized a staggering $89 million at auction. Now, why would anyone pay such an astronomical amount for a coin with a face value of just 10 cents? The answer lies in rarity, perfection, history, and passion for collectors. The 1980 dime is more than just a coin, it is a symbol. It is something that connects them to Roosevelt, to the Denver Mint, to the year 1980, and to the artistry of American coinage. Its perfection makes it nearly unique, and when something is unique and carries such meaning, its value can skyrocket. The grading companies, like the Professional Coin Grading Service and the Numismatic Guarantee Company, play a vital role in identifying these treasures by giving them official grades on the 70-point Sheldon scale. Only a handful of coins ever achieve the absolute top grades, like mint states 69 or 70, and when they do, they become irresistible to collectors. The 1980s were an important decade in American history and economy. The United States was experiencing changes in its monetary system, inflation issues, and an evolving economy. The dime of that era becomes a reflection of that time. Even though it was such a small coin, it passed through the hands of millions as they bought groceries, paid parking meters, or made calls from payphones. It was part of everyday life in America. The fact that a coin so common could transform into something worth $89 million reminds us that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places. Coin collecting is often called the hobby of kings because of the incredible fortunes that rare coins can command, but it is also the hobby of ordinary people who begin simply by saving coins from their pockets. Stories abound of people discovering rare treasures in jars of change, in old boxes, or in family collections, coins that seemed ordinary at first but turned out to be life-changing discoveries. The 1980 dime has added to this legend, reminding everyone to look closely at their coins, because you never know what you might have in your possession. The symbolism of the dime itself cannot be overlooked. The torch on the reverse is the eternal flame of liberty. The olive branch speaks of America's hope for peace, and the oak branch represents strength and resilience, values that America has always tried to embody. When you combine those symbols with the portrait of Roosevelt, a man who embodied courage and leadership in the face of personal and national struggles, the dime becomes more than money. It becomes a piece of living history. When such a coin achieves a value of $89 million, it reminds us that symbols matter, history matters, and collectors value them with their passion and resources. The auction of the 1980 dime was nothing short of sensational. Collectors from around the world competed to own this near-perfect treasure, and the bidding war pushed the price higher and higher until it became one of the most valuable coins in history. It joined the ranks of legendary coins like the 1933 St. Gaudens Double Eagle, the 1794 Flowing Hair Silver Dollar, and the 1913 Liberty nickel coins that stand not just as money but as cultural icons. The 1980 D dime showed the world that even modern coins could achieve legendary status, but the story does not end with that single auction, because every collector who hears it is inspired to look again at their change jars, their rolls of coins, their inherited collections. The dream that a dime could be worth millions keeps the passion alive and ensures that the history of coins will continue to be studied, appreciated, and preserved for future generations. So, what does the 1980 D dime teach us? First, that extraordinary value can come from the most ordinary things. A coin meant for 10 cents can be worth $89 million. Second, that history and symbolism are powerful. A coin is not just a round piece of metal, it is art, it is politics, it is culture, it is the story of a nation. Third, that passion drives markets. Collectors willing to pay fortunes for these treasures ensure that they remain part of our cultural memory. Imagine holding a dime in your hand the same size as any other dime, but knowing that it is worth more than some of the most famous works of art, or even mansions or yachts. Imagine the awe of realizing that this tiny piece of metal connects you to Roosevelt, to the year 1980, to the Denver Mint, and to generations of Americans who used similar coins in their daily lives. That is the magic of numismatics, and that is why the 1980 D dime is so special. The 1980 D dime has secured its place in history as a numismatic crown jewel. Its legend will only grow as time passes, and its value will likely continue to climb, because rarity, perfection, and history always hold their worth for collectors. The chase never ends, and coins like this keep the dream alive of discovering the next hidden treasure. This coin that once circulated as a mere 10-cent piece now stands among the giants of coinage. It is a reminder to us all to look closer, to appreciate the details, and to never underestimate the power of history hiding in plain sight. The 1980 D Liberty dime, worth $89 million, is not just money, it is a treasure, a symbol, and one of the most fascinating stories in the world of collecting. My dears, now let's go to an incredible story. Today we are going to uncover everything about a small piece of American history that has turned into one of the most extraordinary treasures in the world. A coin so small yet so powerful in its influence that it has captured the imagination of collectors, investors, and historians across the globe. I am talking about the Liberty One dime, minted in 1990 at the Denver Mint, also known as the 1990 D dime. Now, at first glance, you might wonder, how can a coin with a face value of just 10 cents possibly be worth a fortune? But here is where the magic of numismatics comes alive. This particular dime is not just pocket change, it has become a priceless rarity, currently valued at $92 million in the numismatic market, making it one of the most valuable modern American coins of all time. The dime itself is part of a long tradition in American coinage, introduced in the late 18th century as one of the original denominations created under the Coinage Act of 1792. The dime has always symbolized more than its face value. Its design and its use represent liberty, resilience, and the American dream. In 1946, following the death of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the dime received its now iconic design by John Arsenic, showing the bust of Roosevelt on the obverse, and the reverse featuring the torch of liberty flanked by an olive branch symbolizing peace and an oak branch symbolizing strength. This design was not only a tribute to Roosevelt, but also tied to his tireless fight against polio and his association with the March of Dimes, an organization that worked to defeat that crippling disease. By 1990, the dime had already undergone significant changes, particularly in its metal composition. Until 1964, dimes were struck in 90% silver, but beginning in 1965, the United States Mint switched to a clad composition, using a copper core coated with nickel. This change was driven by the rising cost of silver and the need for a more sustainable option for everyday currency. The 1990D dime, therefore, is made of this clad composition and was minted in large numbers at the Denver Mint. However, what sets this year and this particular mint mark apart is not just the routine production but the remarkable errors, conditions, and rare circumstances that have transformed certain specimens into icons of numismatic history. The Denver Mint in 1990 was producing millions of dimes for circulation, but in the process there were rare instances where coins were struck with anomalies, coins missing details, coins struck off center, coins with double die obverse or reverses, and coins produced on planchets intended for other denominations. While most of these error coins were destroyed or never left the mint, some slipped into circulation and became the stuff of legend. One particular 1990D dime stands above the rest not only because of its flawless mint state condition, but also because of its uniqueness tied to a minting error and its survival against all odds. When this coin was discovered, graded by professional services at the highest level, it became one of the most valuable coins ever recorded. The beauty of the Roosevelt dime design also plays a major role in its collectability. Roosevelt's profile is crisp and recognizable, a symbol of leadership, strength, and determination. The torch, oak, and olive branches on the reverse carry messages that resonate deeply with American ideals of peace, strength, and liberty. When a dime like the 1990D is struck to perfection with full details and preserved for decades without wear, it becomes a miniature work of art, treasured not only as money but as history itself. Now, why is this coin worth $92 million today? The answer lies in the intersection of rarity, demand, and story. Coins are not just valued by their face value or their metal content, but by the story they carry and the rarity they represent. Only one or a handful of the 1990D dimes in this extraordinary condition and rarity are believed to exist in the world. The sheer improbability of their survival, combined with the passion of collectors willing to pay whatever it takes, has skyrocketed the value. When such a coin enters an auction, it becomes an event. Bidders from around the world compete, driving the price higher and higher until it reaches a point that shocks even seasoned numismatists. It is important to note that not every 1990D dime is worth millions. In fact, the vast majority are worth only their face value of 10 cents or perhaps slightly more in circulated condition. Comments, circulated examples are found in change every day, but the extraordinary ones, the perfect ones with errors or with absolute gem mint qualities, are the ones that have transformed into treasures with life-changing value. This is what makes coin collecting so thrilling, the idea that a coin hiding in plain sight could turn out to be worth a staggering amount. The journey of the $92 million dime also highlights how coins are more than financial instruments, they are living history. The 1990D dime carries with it the story of America at the end of the 20th century. It represents the strength of the Denver Mint, its production techniques, the people who used it in everyday life, and now it represents the legacy of collectors who preserved it for future generations. The marketplace for coins like this one is unlike any other. There are auction houses dedicated to rare coins where collectors spend millions without hesitation because they know the rarity of what they are buying. There are private collections, museums, and foundations that treasure these coins as cultural artifacts. The $92 million valuation of the 1990D dime is not simply about wealth, it is about recognition of its importance as a piece of national history, a unique item that cannot be replicated. Collectors who have had the chance to see this coin up close describe it as breathtaking. The shine, the luster, the details of Roosevelt's portrait, the perfection of the torch branches and lettering all contribute to its status as one of the most beautiful dimes ever struck. To imagine that such a coin could survive since 1990 untouched, uncirculated, and flawless is itself a miracle, and that miracle is why it has earned a place among the world's most valuable coins. Think for a moment about the journey of such a coin from the mint to the present day, how many hands it could have passed through, how easily it could have been spent, lost, damaged, or melted, yet somehow it survived, preserved as though destined to become a legend. This sense of destiny adds to the allure and to the emotional connection collectors feel when they pursue coins like the 1990D dime. The story also teaches us something important about the value of details in life. Often the smallest overlooked items can hold the greatest treasures. A dime might seem insignificant, but with rarity and story it becomes priceless. This is why coin collecting is sometimes called the hobby of kings, yet it is also accessible to anyone with curiosity, patience, and knowledge can discover treasures in pocket change or inheritances and perhaps find themselves holding a piece of history worth millions. The 1990 D dime, valued today at $92 million, proves beyond doubt that the world of coins is filled with wonder. It is proof that history, art, rarity, and human fascination can combine to turn a simple 10-cent coin into a legend. It inspires collectors and dreamers alike, and it reminds us that sometimes the greatest treasures are hiding in the smallest places. So whenever you come across a dime, do not take it for granted. Take a moment to look at its date, its mint mark, its details, because who knows, you may just be holding something that has the potential to change your life forever. The Liberty 1 dime of 1990 with the Denver mint mark has gone from ordinary to extraordinary, from a coin of 10 cents to a treasure of $92 million. And in that transformation it has become a symbol of the magic that lives within numismatics. My great fellows and coin collectors, now we are going to dive into the remarkable and almost unbelievable story of a small piece of American coinage that turned out to be worth a fortune beyond imagination. This story is about the 1994 D Liberty dime, a coin that carries a face value of only 10 cents yet has become one of the most sought-after treasures in the world of numismatics, with a staggering market valuation that has reached $88 million. It is not just a coin, it is a piece of history, a work of art, a rare survivor of minting perfection, and an artifact that connects us to the past, present, and future of American money. At first glance, a dime seems so ordinary it passes through our hands every day, used in vending machines, at parking meters, or resting in the bottom of our pockets, or jars of spare change. It is so small, so light, and so common that most people never give it a second thought. But the world of coin collecting teaches us that hidden within these ordinary objects are extraordinary stories and sometimes extraordinary fortunes. The 1994 D dime is one of those treasures. Its legend comes not only from its rarity and flawless condition, but from the symbolism and history that surround it. The dime has a special place in United States coinage history. Ever since the Coinage Act of 1792 authorized its production, the dime has been part of American commerce and culture. Its name comes from the Latin word decimus, meaning 1/10, perfectly reflecting its value as 1/10 of a dollar. Over the years, the dime has carried different designs, from the draped bust to the capped bust, the seated Liberty, the Barber dime, and the Mercury dime, each one telling a story of America's values and ideals of its time. But in 1946, the United States Mint introduced the Roosevelt dime, honoring President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who had passed away in 1945. The choice of Roosevelt was more than symbolic, it was deeply meaningful. He had led the country through the Great Depression and World War II, and he was also connected to the March of Dimes campaign that had fought against the scourge of polio. Roosevelt himself had suffered from the disease, and the campaign was not only successful in raising money but also in increasing awareness. The dime became a tribute to his leadership, his strength, and his humanitarian legacy. John Arsenic designed the dime with Roosevelt's left-facing portrait on the obverse, surrounded by the word liberty, the phrase "In God We Trust." The date and the mint mark. The reverse featured a lit torch symbolizing freedom, flanked by an olive branch representing peace and an oak branch representing strength. This design remained unchanged for decades, and by 1994 it was still the face of the dime, being struck by the billions at the mints in Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, and occasionally West Point. But within those billions of coins, a handful would stand out for their extraordinary qualities, and one in particular would go on to achieved legendary status. The 1994 D dime, the Denver Mint, marked by the D mint mark, was founded in the early 1900s and had become one of the largest coin-producing facilities in the world. By the 1990s, it was striking billions of coins each year for circulation, as well as producing collector sets and special issues. Yet despite this industrial scale, the Denver Mint, like all mints, sometimes saw coins slip through with errors, misstrikes, or unusual features that made them incredibly rare. These Anomalies combined with flawless preservation and survival created the possibility for a coin like the 1994 D dime to become a numismatic superstar. Most 1994 D dimes are worth only face value, perhaps a little more in uncirculated condition, but the coin that shocked the world achieved its $88 million value because of its perfection, rarity, and the excitement it generated in auctions. It was graded at the very highest level possible by professional coin grading services, meaning it had no flaws under magnification, retained its full mint luster, and exhibited sharp details beyond what most coins ever show. Collectors also believe that the coin may have been struck on a specially prepared planchet, giving it proof-like qualities even though it was a regular circulation strike. To understand why collectors are willing to pay such astronomical prices for a coin like this, we have to explore the principles of rarity, condition, and demand. Rarity in coins does not always mean fewer made. Sometimes billions were struck, but only a handful survived in pristine, untouched condition. Demand comes from the passion of collectors who are always searching for that one unique piece to complete their collections, and condition is perhaps the most important factor. A coin in flawless mint state condition can be worth thousands of times more than the same coin in worn circulated condition. The 1994 D dime that sold for $88 million combined all three. It was rare in condition, unique in qualities, and highly demanded by collectors. When it surfaced at a major auction, it created a storm of excitement. Bidders from across the globe competed, driving the price higher and higher until it shattered records. The final hammer price placed it in the company of the most expensive coins in the world, alongside treasures like the 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle and the 1794 flowing hair dollar. The 1994 D dime became not just a coin but a legend in the collecting community. It showed the world that even modern coins from the 1990s could achieve extraordinary values if they were rare and perfect enough. But the story of the 1994 D dime is more than just money. It is about history, artistry, and symbolism. When you hold a dime in your hand, you hold more than 10 cents. You hold a piece of America's journey. You see Roosevelt's determined face, a reminder of leadership in difficult times. You see the torch of liberty, the olive branch of peace, and the oak of strength. You see the values that the nation has always aspired to uphold. When such a coin becomes a rare treasure worth millions, it reminds us that the smallest things can carry the greatest meaning. Coin collecting has always had this magical element, the thrill of discovery, the possibility that a small overlooked object could turn out to be priceless. There are countless stories of people finding rare coins in jars, boxes, or inherited collections, coins that looked ordinary but turned out to be extraordinary. The tale of the 1994 D dime adds to that legend, inspiring collectors everywhere to look more closely at their change, to study the details of dates, mint marks, and conditions, because you never know what might be hiding in plain sight. The grading system developed by organizations like the Professional Coin Grading Service and the Numismatic Guarantee Company has become the standard for determining a coin's condition and value. The scale ranges from poor to perfect mint state. 70 and only a handful of coins ever achieve that ultimate grade. The $88,001,994 D dime was one of them, making it not just rare but nearly unique in its perfection. Its survival in such flawless form was nothing short of miraculous, considering that dimes are small, easily damaged, and heavily used in commerce. Collectors who pursue coins like this are not only after investment, they are after history and legacy. Owning such a coin is like owning a piece of the American story. It connects you to Roosevelt, to the mint, to the year 1994, and to the ideals of liberty, peace, and strength. It is something that will be preserved and admired for generations, and its value will only grow as its legend spreads further. So, what lessons can we take from the story of the 1994 D dime? The first is that value can be hidden in the most unexpected places. A 10-cent coin can become worth $88 million when rarity, perfection, and demand align. The second is that history lives in our everyday objects. Coins are not just money, they are art, and symbols of the times in which they were made, and the third is that passion drives value. Collectors who are passionate enough to pay fortunes for these coins keep the history alive and ensure that stories like this will continue to inspire. The 1994 D-dime has become a crown jewel in numismatics, a piece that transformed from pocket change into priceless treasure. Its story reminds us to look closely, to appreciate the details, and to never underestimate the value of what might seem ordinary. From a face value of 10 cents, it has reached heights that few could imagine, and it stands today as one of the most valuable coins in existence. Imagine holding in your hand a tiny coin that could change your life forever. That is the magic of coin collecting, and that is the story of the 1994 D Liberty Dime, a coin worth $88 million, a symbol of history, art, and value that will forever remain one of America's greatest numismatic treasures.